All right, what's up, everybody? Is anybody out there? Is anybody out there? This is America. This is America calling. Do you still love us? All right, new window. Nah. Window. There. That's a little better, maybe. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Thursday analysis stream. International Master Sledge. And, yeah, happy World War III and global economic collapse and all that. So, since we're not going anywhere, obviously due to the cost of jet fuel, feel free to please donate to my summer tournament stream. Anything I can get to with the bicycle or, something like a car that runs on electricity, maybe. All right. Please donate and support the stream if you can. The search for Asterbait continues. There was a very brief sighting of some kind yesterday. So what's up, everybody? We're analyzing games from subscribers. Also, one master game I put in there, Larsen versus Stein, from USA versus the rest of the world. USSR versus the rest of the world. Sorry, I think that was a Freudian slip. And I've got an opening question about the weird Rossalimo that I faced the other day. I think we'll do that as a sort of weekly feature for analysis stream. Analysis of some opening line or position that we can focus on a little bit. Not nothing too in depth, but that's kind of a cool idea, I figured. Okay, so this first game is because I think Morales generally isn't here. So he has, I assume, late work or can't often be here. So he sends in games, but often isn't in the stream to talk about them while we're actually analyzing. So I thought we'll do Morales first, but let's get the stream active first of all. All right, let's make sure we're active. We're active. Okay, we are active. All right, stream is up. Stream is up. We're streaming. We've got 4 viewers, setting records left and right. Guys, please donate and stream. If you do donate, or any kind of follow what you have, you've got hit points from Mr. Coffee now. Stream boss. The stream boss loses their hit points. They become unstream boss, and right now Mr. Coffee has 2,545 hit points, so he's about half his health. We don't need these glasses unless I start analyzing from the book. All right. So we're starting with Morales. So we had this submission. Morales is a VIP. He's been a follower of our stream for at least 8 years now. I've been streaming for over 9, I guess. I've been streaming for like 9 years, maybe more. This might be my 10th year. So Morales is white, and I don't know, the openings are acting weird lately. It sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't, and it'll like pop in and out. So let's see. Morales is white. They played the annoying Caro Khan, and now the master database opens up. Okay, so Caro Khan is like, I mean, dude, now I can't see the first move. Great. Caro Khan, I'd like to see the opening explore from move 1, by the way. Oops, sorry. Why don't you guys fix it? Alright, so we got e4, c6, d4, d5, and the move that has the best score with a high percentage of games, best score with a very large sample size, e5, the advanced variation, Caro Khan. Now, this particular move does give white an advantage of sorts, but I don't think that it's easy to play for either side, and certainly not for black, and also not for white, because sometimes having a space advantage is not easy to handle. A lot of players tend to overextend themselves. Hercules. Hercules. follicles. What's up? So, even though like e5 might technically be white's best move, that doesn't mean it's like everyone's well suited to this. Black now plays bishop f5, and I think this is best, although there's a lot of support for this move c5. And it is weird to play c6 and then c5, but the situation has changed. Botvinnik himself played c5. Bishop f5 has always been like the main line as long as this variation has existed. And now Morales has played different stuff from what I recall. But at this time, we're seeing the move bishop to e3 here. I've seen pretty much everything. So look at that opening explorer. I mean, how many positions can you play in the opening where it's like move 4 and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, at least 12 and counting candidate moves? Brah. That's 12, and I'm not even, scrolled all the way down. 12 candidate moves for white at least. So we got to follow. A few seconds. Kwakani has followed. That will reduce Mr. Coffee's health by 5 points. So bishop e3 from Morales. Now this is one of the newer-ish systems for white, along with knight d2. Moves that, let's say, didn't exist 20 years ago, really. So bishop e3 and knight d2, I think, are often interchangeable, and they'll sometimes be played together because you'll have the knight going to b3 and you're going to follow up with bishop e3 a lot of cases, and vice versa. So there will be transitions within these two. Bishop e3, it's interesting, it's not given a name. Koprichik liked to play this against the French, wasn't it? Anyways, alright, bishop e3, sort of discouraging c5, though not physically preventing it. Alright, e6, supporting d5, also supporting the possible c5 break, developing. Now white plays knight d2, as I said. This is part and parcel for the bishop e3 type of stuff. Can black play c5? Has a very bad score over just a few games. If black were to play c5, what would you do? Would you take? Allow d4, bishop on f4. This was played in one game. This pawn is pushed past its prime. It's past its prime. Wow. This is actually okay for black. Let us have a little bit of a deeper look here. That's good to know, because inquiring minds want to know. Did Strunas Solskis know how to play here? Did Chaparinov, only one player, Edward Skunk, played the move? The engine thinks only bishop e5 check is good for white. Let's check the Lichess Explorer. D takes c5. See, the vast majority of players play d takes c5, and it's a mistake. See, this is very subtle stuff, man. If c5, apparently this is the only move that gives white an advantage, bishop e5 check. Morales, I gotta say, I feel like, I don't know. Somehow I feel like this move is better. But black could try to play c5 there anyway. Now this is better. Solskis says black. Something about knight d2 I like better. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe it's the fact that it's been played more than bishop e3. Maybe it's the fact that I just don't feel comfortable. My bishop is like stuck. Hercules, when are you going to become a subscriber? There's, you have a chat limit for non-subscribers. Only allowed like 5 lines. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right, so e6. So c5 is interesting there. Knight d2, we transpose. Now knight d7. Knight d7. I never know like which way to go with these knights. Black plays knight d7. The problem is like, ideally you want to play c5 and put one knight on c6. Maybe you have the other one on d7. So if you go knight e7, you go knight d7, you can go knight e to c6 later when you play c5. You're over the limit. Alright, knight d7, Carlsen, Wang, Hao. And now g4. No comment about this move. I hate this move. Blech. That's just my surface. My surface feeling. Morales has his own ideas. Okay, so g4. This is not the standard move. White normally plays what? Knight b3. Remember the first time I saw this, like 10 years ago, I was like, what? This is a thing? I hadn't been playing chess much until 2010, like between 2010 and 2015. I wasn't playing much. And was kind of getting back into chess, and I was really surprised to see like a good friend of mine playing this with white. I was like, what is that? This is weird, Knight on b3. So anyway, a totally different approach. g4, bishop g6, and now what? Knight e2. So Morales played this against me too. I have a game or two here. Zvygintsev is a creative player. He was a student of Dvoretsky, and I met them together. And I myself had a few lessons with Dvoretsky. Zvygintsev was there in Boston. So, knight e2. I wonder why he was there. I wonder if that was that FIDE knockout in Las Vegas or something. I don't remember. Okay, knight e2, knight f4. By the way, if you play h4 right away, it's bad because of h5. So we get the knight here first. And then Morales is going to play h4. And then he's going to play knight f4 if you play h5. This is like a preemptive strike. It's a preemptive strike, so sort of supporting h4, h5 threat with the backup of knight f4. And notice he's not blocking his f-pawn, so the f-pawn could actually advance as well. Now, I mean, this is not an everyday move, but the main move for black here has been played 5 times. f6. Not everyone who plays the Caro-Kann is willing to play f6 so early. The only other move that was played was knight e7, as your opponent did in this game. But I would imagine the other moves are plausible, like h5 is really ugly, right? h5, you're just asking for knight f4. That's probably not good. h6 is playable but passive. f6 is clearly giving the bishop retreat square back to f7 while attacking white center at e5. And the center at e5 is a tad overextended. Knight e7 just simply develops a piece. But what about the good old c5? Attacking the base of the pawn chain? There's going to be... well, I mean, this move has to be considered. It is kind of fundamental, no? Attacking the base of the pawn chain. What do we do? Oh, I have a message. Our director, can you analyze this game? What's the magic word? Oh, I got a terrible, back cramp and a weird side cramp. Multiple cramps. Can you analyze this game? I'll think about it. Are you a subscriber? I can't just click the link, right? That sucks. That would be cool if I could do that. If I could just put links in the studies, wow, would that be awesome? Can you just do that? You're a subscriber. Hercules is not. Can we get a gift sub for Hercules? Astrabate's not here. He's still missing 3 weeks now. There was a purported sighting on the Evil Chess site. Listen, by the way, our director, if you're watching, if you're listening to the show, you know, you were right about that game yesterday. I forgot my own normal order of moves, and when we played the F3 Nimzo yesterday, I said, oh no, your move isn't the main move. I don't know if it is or not. It is a move there, you know, so bishop d2 is a move. I played d6. I don't normally play that move, and so I usually castle, and then bishop d2 is this. So it's true. You were right that the bishop d2 is a normal move there. I just wanted to clarify that I forgot I had played d6 instead of castles. So anyways, but it was a good game, an interesting game. Anyways, all right, so back to this game. So what happened? We got another notification. Ah, gobble, 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 gobble. Gobble, gobble. We're up to 187.55, nice and even number. Does anybody know why my donation bar, like, looks normal now, but, like, tomorrow when I log in, it's going to say, like, 187.55, 7432, 558, whatever. So now he made a donation of $5 to support the stream, support the summer. I'll be able to rent a bicycle to go to a tournament, maybe in the countryside or something, with jet fuel prices going up. Hasta la vista, Las Vegas. So, thanks Donald Trump for destroying the world economy while you're at it. Gobble, 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 gobble donated $5, and he's been a great supporter of the stream. Thank you. Especially now without Mr. Slow, without Asterbait here. No one left to support the stream. Gobble, gobble is picking up the slack. And we got a game by Gobble Romops. Alright, anyway. I'm just doing Morales first because he's not here, of course. There was nobody here. So I thought c5 might be a move now. What about this? Is this a thing? It is a move. Theoretical novelty, c5. To me, that's more natural than playing f6. But your opponent decides to play knight e7. And Joaquin Phoenix. There's Fabian Fiorito. This is a new Fiorito. Paul Velton, the French Grandmaster, against Joaquin Fiorito, who I have no idea where he's from. Alright, so knight e7, knight f4. So now the knight protects the bishop. So if I play h4, here's what you can do. You could play h something, but you could play h5, knight f4, and allow knight to hg6, because the knight is now guarding it, and your structure won't get like blown to pieces. So black could play h takes g, for example, and after knight g6, knight g6. Well, I mean, black, I don't know if it's a good position, but it's playable. This actually might not be so good for white because you're going to lose a pawn here, for example. But just saying, knight e7 defends the bishop, so the h5 becomes playable. Now you play knight f4, and there's these two games here. Both cases the players played c5. So, interestingly, what is a Herman donates? Herman. Ironically, that's Chemiculture's last name. Wow. Herman Munster. Well, anyway, I'll tell Chemiculture that any donation from his family will be orderly. I figured Herman was some kind of like state in Germany or something. Hermania. It's right next to hot dog. Okay, knight f4, c5, and yeah, you're attacking our center. So Morales' favorite move now, c3, securing the center. Notice his opponent is 2565. I just want to show you guys. Berioza is 2565. This is a blitz game. Now Morales facing really unbelievable thing here. A game from 2011, Spanish master Oms Palice, who I didn't think was any spring chicken, 2489 in 2011. I thought the guy was like my age. Queen b6. So this opponent plays exactly the same move as was played in this one random game there. And Yevgeny Yanev takes on g6. First of all, it's surprising that Black would play the exact same move. Okay, Fiorito, the younger, played h6. This is just going to cause White to take on g6. And after knight takes g6, Belton is better. Bishop d3. I don't think that h6 is a good move. You know, clearly something more constructive is in order here. But okay, one point of note. Like, I just want to say, like, say we make a random move like a6 or something. White plays h4, then you can play h6, but you can also play h5, because after knight takes g6, you do knight takes g6, pawn takes pawn, maybe knight goes back, and then these pawns aren't so great. You know, I mean, they're not the greatest pawns. Maybe White's better here, yeah. All right, queen b6. And now, Yanev played knight takes g6, but I don't know. So you didn't want to do knight takes g6. I also don't want to do knight takes g6. I don't see why that's played here. Ohm's police. So you play queen b3, Kuprechik style. Now Black plays c4. Please sack a piece, Morales. You sack a piece for 2 pawns and an extended attack. He did it. Unbelievable. Check this out. Okay, c4, and then you're like begging White to do this because of the knight d6. Black's at 2500. Black has to take. And now White takes on c4, and then you trade queens, but knight d6 check in between move. Which is not forced, but clearly good, right? King d8, only move, and now we recapture. So what do we have for our sacrificed piece? An open A file, half open A file, pressure on f7, and the strong knight on d6. That's threatening the b7 capture. So it looks scary. There's also a threat of knight takes g6, followed by knight f7 check. So obvious suggestion is like king c7. That's what Black played. Nothing too exciting here for Black, but yeah, knight takes g6, knight f7 is a huge threat. So, like, whatever you do, if you tried to remove the knight takes g6, like, just say, for example, here, I can always take here, attacking a rook, and then when you take, I fork you with knight f7. So the king has to get out of the fork. And so the point is, like, you could take on g6, but if you take on g6, Black takes with the f pawn, and that pawn is no longer hanging. So, okay, here we got this position. What do we do now? You have knight b5 check. You have rook takes a7. You have the move in the game, c4, which is like avalanches these central pawns. You have h4 opening another front over there, which looks reasonable but slow. What is the plan here? So Morales plays c4. He should have played knight g6, and now f g6, I thought. Okay, now we see the reason. Why is it strong? Because we have knight f7, rook g8, and knight g5. And then boo boo. And this is probably what Morales missed too. So, knight g6, knight g6. Black has to sacrifice this anyway. And then, you know, he needs like this. This is very awkward. Rook g8, knight g5, again, double attack. So we're looking at 4 pawns for a piece now. All 8 pawns on board for white. We got half of black's pawns for a knight. Actually, a bishop. No, it was a knight. A knight. Rook e8. By the way, this is hanging. That's 4 pawns. This is engine. h4, h6, knight e4. And I don't know why you don't want to save your a pawn. For example, bishop e7. Okay, then I had to move bishop e7. Now, and I'm attacking this. Okay, a-air, knight h4. Okay, so white has a million pawns for a piece. 3 pawns, but a very good position. Morales instead played c4. And now black tries to extract that knight on d6. Knight c8. But you have knight hg6, right? Why is this so bad? I don't know, it still looks good. Fg6, and then why didn't you play knight f7 here? I mean, knight f7 is obvious, right? Oh, there's a check. Oh, shit. The stupid check. Oh, no. Oh, no, there's a check. And then the rook can come into defense. So, king e2, rook e8, defending this preemptively. And now if knight here, we just kick you out. Okay. Something was missed somewhere. So then knight e4, bishop e4 check, and then obviously king e2. Black can defend that bishop on b4 with like a5 or something, so it's probably not going to get trapped or anything like that. But you can obviously play king e2. I think the bishop looks kind of like a target. It's maybe a tempo, like rook a4 also. So I would tend to leave it there. This is probably not that bad. I mean, you have piece for 3 pawns, and you're better probably. h6, f4, rook f8. Now, why not your king? Rook f1. Now b4. Getting all the pawns in the game. These 2 pawns can be defended by king c3. But I'm a little nervous about our pawn here coming under frontal assault. a6 and now knight d6. What a beautiful knight. He can challenge it, and he does. Knight c8. So rather than play knight d6, this is a blitz game, you know. Still, I would prefer to build my position. Knight d6 isn't bad. Okay. Now what do? You could play c5, but you would give up these squares. So knight e4 is best. Knight e4 and offer a draw. And black wouldn't accept a draw. He changes the position with this, king c3. Now knight b6 with no threats. Now white is better. 1 knight is better than 2. But mighty pawns. b5, I don't know about that. ab5, knight takes check, king d7. And eventually, Morales goes wrong. He hangs a pawn, an important pawn. And then things start to fall apart here. Rook f4 here. Rook d4. And now you have b5. He misses b5. And things fall apart. Check. And then knight c5. But still, interesting game. Yeah, Morales' pet variation with g4 is rarely played. Let's let the engine have a look here. Bishop g6 is best. Knight e2 is best. Knight e7 is best. Knight f4 is best. c5 is best. c3 is best. Queen b6 is engine number 1 move. And now, yeah. Sorry. Oddly, the engine wants to play Yanev's move, knight hg6, which I also think is strange. It's not going anywhere. Why do we have to take it now? So I don't know if Morales, this is part of his homework. Queen c1 it's just too passive. I agree. Like, what did they do after knight g6? Did they then play queen b3? Rook b1. Okay. So see, that's why they're doing it. They're taking on g6 so they can enable rook b1. But that's in itself like kind of lame. Whereas trading queens is a little bit lame too. So h4, sacking the b pawn. Queen takes b2. This is looking a little dubious. So to make your line work, queen b3 is okay. Black c4 is a mistake. And your sack just works. This is beautiful. Takes. Yeah, it's all been confirmed by the computer. Best defense, oddly, is queen c6 hitting your rook. You do have d5 pawn sacks here. Just a long-term piece sack. Wow, castles. That was the plan all along. All right, anyway, that was a fun game. Thanks, Morales. Nice not seeing you tonight. So, I've got games from Sun Prism, Gabble Troll Mops with the $5 donation. Our featured game, Master Game Analysis, Larsen-Stein from the USSR. Wasn't the USSR great? Let's make it up again. Let's remake it in Putin's honor. USSR versus the rest of the world. Larsen-Stein, which I have a question about that. There's a picture here. It was Larsen-Stein. In the background was the background was Geller against Gligorich. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because Yugoslavia doesn't count as USSR, obviously. Okay. So Gabble Trollbops, you're up next. Gabble Trollbops versus Probiotic. And you're playing d4. You of all peoples playing d4. Peoples. Peoples are peoples too. Where's my opening explorer? What the fuck? Now the opening explorer we have to sync. Now the opening explorer is working. Okay. So this is Gabble Trollbops versus Sitchio Bick. Oh no, it's a Roslimo. We have an opening analysis for you guys. Oh, Antonio, you just missed your game. Okay. Now you show up. You never show up on an analysis stream days. So I did your game first. That's ironic. You never show up here. No Astrobate, so we did you first. Substitute for Astrobate. E4, C5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5. Guys, please subscribe and donate. Please subscribe and donate. And check this out. Later, I'm going to show you guys this very weird variation with D5. What the fuck is that? Excuse me. Sorry for my bad language. Gabble Romops, thank you for donating $5. Yeah. That was a little unclear what my attempted accent there was. Okay. Yeah, that's stupid. Anyways, we're going to look at that a little bit later. This is Gabble Romops. Oh, I'm confused. You're not playing D4. Alright, I'm losing my mind. Sorry, the game got stuck there. The game got stuck on this, and it wouldn't switch. So I thought Gabble Romops played the Roslima, but I know you played D4. I know. Sorry. No, I even said it when we started, that you've been playing D4 lately. So this is D4. And you used to play E4. And you didn't play the Rosalimo. Alright, so C4, E6, Knight C3, and the Nimzo. And now you played the Rudolph Spielmann variation with Queen B3. It was a mouse slip. His fingers are too fat. He meant to put the queen on C2, but he put it on B3 instead. I did that once. I lost very badly to Charlie Hurtan. But, Yeah, don't play stuff you don't know. Like, I didn't really know the variation well enough, and I got transposed to something I didn't know. But e3, queen c2, those are the white best moves. F3 is very sharp. G3 refuted by Hans. There's A3, bishop D2, queen B3, strange bishop F4. So, all right. So the Spielman variation. Here's my take on this. It's a lot like the classical or Capablanca variation with queen C2, and it can transpose. But fundamentally, it feels like you're putting your queen in an exposed position. It should be wrong, a little bit wrong. It's not as correct as queen c2, so to speak, but at the same time, okay, you're white, you can take a little bit of liberty, whatever. Nimzovich had a game where he played black against said master. And I think, isn't that why it's called the Spielman variation? Because Spielman got his ass handed to him by Nimzovich in this? Probably not, but Spielman known to play this move. So the queen is vulnerable to being attacked later. Not so easy to attack it right away. Like, black can play knight c6, right? But it's no big deal. Knight c6 is highly likely to transpose to some kind of thing. The best move for black is c5. The point of c5 is that after d takes c5, we play bishop takes c5. This is what I think Nimzovich did. I'm trying to remember now how this went down. Knight f3, then what? Okay, right. So you've got this stupid queen, right? After d takes c5, bishop takes c5. You'd rather have the queen on c2 than b3. So after knight f3, now, here's the question. Knight c6 or castles? Or b6, also a move. But I'm trying to remember what Nimzovich did. This is... This is a variation normally played with the queen on c2. This isn't so good for white. Now, I can't remember what I was thinking. Maybe b6 is good. Yeah. I guess this is the best. Pikat Karpov. I think the queen gets held in the freeze position on b3. Black wants to play against that queen. How to take advantage of that queen. That's really the key to the position. Alright, anyways. The engine actually likes knight c6. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is knight c6. Okay, here right away. Well, no, you're right. This is it. Now, Nimzovich discovered this. It was knight c6 right away. Knight c6 right away. It's okay, Bromops, because most people don't know this, but knight c6, even I forgot. Knight c6 right away, then knight f3, stopping knight d4, and then you just play knight e4. No, this is the idea that Nimzovich played. This is awkward. This is why it's better that the queen were on c2, because it stops this shit. So what else are you going to do? You can play bishop g5 maybe. Let's take a look at that. That's bad. Bishop g5 is bad. a3. You can always play a3. Bishop takes c3. Oh my god, knight d4. Oh my god. Knight d4. Nassau Chess Club Championship, 1995. Oh my god, this isn't good for white either. Yeah, so this is the problem. This is the biggest problem. Knight f3, knight e4. This is Spielman, Nimzovich. Bishop d2. And now black can equalize with knight takes d2. And you get, black gets the bishop. But you can also play Nimzo won against Spielman with knight takes c5. So he played for more than a draw. And Spielman tried to like castle queenside or something crazy and got his head mixed up with his ass. And it didn't work out well. So anyways, there are some issues with queen b3. It's better to play queen c2. All right, queen b3, and then black plays this. This is obviously bad. Why would you play the Nimzo and then voluntarily release the pin? You know, by the way, I've seen other people play like a5, queen e7. This is clearly the best move. You could also play maybe other moves like knight f3. This transposes to a symmetrical English. I guess it would be quite similar to that other line, wouldn't it? Okay, so anyways, bishop takes very bad, queen takes. Now knight e4. Your opponent not a big believer in development. Take right away a knight e4, and he's only going to get pushed back here. Queen c2, and now f5, which is consistent. Now you have f3, queen h4 check, losing, so we don't want to do that. Normally, in this type of position, white plays either knight h3, or what else? Maybe g3? That's kind of lame. Why is there no games with knight h3? I guess because of knight c6, maybe? But I am kind of curious what happens here. See, the idea of this is that you'd be able to meet queen h4 check with what am I talking about? You're able to play f3. Sorry. You'll be able to play f3. So if here, can you play f3? Knight takes d4, you know, whatever. Yeah. Check. This is unclear, right? g3. Oh no. Here. Is this a problem? Officer? What was that? Officer, do we have a problem here? So, okay, I think that's fine. So, okay, here's my question. Is knight h3 a good move? I'm going to kick that knight out, and I now have g3 for real. So let's say black castles. I don't know. Play f3. Check, g3, and you got nothing because sack doesn't do anything. So, is knight h3 a good move, and why has no one played it? Apparently it's not a good move. So knight h3, it's an okay move. But it has a problem. c5. Wow. So now he comes to get you on the other diagonal. That's really shocking. I probably would have fallen for that, honestly. You know, Uber Driver has a little trap he likes to do. He'll sack the rook. Like f3, queen h4 check here. Takes, takes, takes. And try to trap the queen, rather. But you know, there's this. Does this work? This is probably not going to work, is it? Because here, bishop f4. Oh my god, this is unclear. I bet you never thought of that, huh? This is apparently unclear. Wow. If you played f3, he has to go into this. Otherwise, he's worse. Knight g3, h3, queen h1, knight h3, queen h2, bishop f4. Yeah, it's totally insane. Right up your alley. Right up your alley. It looks dangerous for both sides. Black has like very little development, you know. And the queen is still potentially trapped. Could still potentially get trapped. I mean, he's really close to getting his queen trapped. So that's a cool line, you know, if you're inclined to play something crazy. E3 and now B6. Fidel Castro. Now you need a reason not to play f3. Mike Mattisau always commenting on everything. There's a scandal in Texas where he's commenting about a poker scandal. They closed down a poker club in Texas. They had like a police raid investigating money laundering, and he's in there. But Mike Mattisau's favorite comment I ever heard was, he's a poker player, you know, just remember, look for reasons to fold, you know. And I always like that. But after b6, I'm looking for reasons to fold. And the reason I say that, but what I mean by that is like, I'm looking for reasons to not play f3. Folding here is like not playing f3. You're looking for reasons to fold. So, I'll give you an example, right? If black had played c5 instead, much more active move than b6, then they would have that threat of like queen a5 check. And then you'd have a reason to fold, so to speak. You know, f3, queen a5 check. That's kind of annoying, yes. Because we're going to have to do something we don't really want to do. Bishop d2 or move the king. But here, I don't really see an objection to f3. Do you understand why? Probably you don't. So I'm going to introduce you to the concept. Queen h4 check. g3. Oh no! Wait, it doesn't work. We still have the Uber driver variation, right? Takes. Knight h3. Oh no, we don't. We don't have it. Oh my god. So, I was going to say this, but there is a technical problem. Oh no. Can you guys believe it? Gabble Tromops, you saw this? This is in the same position. He has f4. Triple exclaim. Is it though? Is it really triple exclaim? The hell is going on here? What do you guys think? I'm going to cheat with the engine. Wow. You're better. But not if you make the obvious move pawn takes pawn. Now you're worse. Your structure's torn to shreds. But you're better if you find some sort of weird subtle move. But I want you to learn from this, Gabble Tromops, that your queen has lateral. And so this e3 is connected because your queen, it's like the French. You play the black side of the French, and your queen is on c7, and you play f5 or f6. That lateral defense plays a key role in f7 Bafenik, transferring the queen from c7 to like f7 in the winner were French. Similar theme here. So oddly enough, you played the exact same move. No, you didn't. Somebody played knight e2 here. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That goes to f4 probably. Maybe your move is more natural, in a sense. And now bishop b7, and f3, obviously. Check. Same shit as last time, so to speak. Different version, right? Here, takes, queen f2, f4. You know, and again, the engine's going to say, like, if you play e4 or something, you're probably still better. It's very complicated. I'm not sure. This is a fun position, though. Okay, so you played knight h3. Sorry, you didn't play knight h3. Okay, the other guy played knight h3. Knight h3 is about playing f3. Not interfering with your f-pawn. And I also like this. Although, in that case, queen h4, you're fine. You can castle. You're still playing f3. And he's got no real attack. But knight f3 leaves his knight on e4. So how are you going to get rid of that, bro? No, not good. Not good. Not good. I had this guy a few months ago contact me about analyzing his games. He was a correspondence player. And some position like this he took with the bishop on e4. I was like, oh my god. You can't give up your bishop for the knight on e4. It's too much. Your bishop's too important. The other maneuvers take forever. Why don't you play f3, man? You gotta play f3. Okay, you didn't see it would work here. Well, then you have to do this like this other guy, Vishnu, did. You're gonna kick him out with f3. Eventually it's gonna work. I mean, now it's gonna work. He castles, you play f3. Why didn't he play f3 now? Why did Vishnu not play f3? Okay, he could still wait. He just castled. Whatever. Wait, this is a very good position. So you play knight f3, blocking your f-pawn. Big mistake. Now you're going to need to go move your knight in order to move your f-pawn. Castles. Here, you got a good player playing white. But it was a long time ago. Cornel Salai, he's a 2400 strength player, but this was 2001. Okay, so he was probably pretty young. I am strength guy. 2001. All right, so b3. Solid. d6, bishop b2. Jim Plaskett. Blech. Okay, knight d7. Very Nizabichian play by black, by the way. And so here white, castle queenside, which is very risky in my opinion. But you cannot live with this knight on e4 forever, my friend. You're going to need to get rid of it. So why don't you castle kingside? Now you're going to have to play like... Okay, you're going to get attacked now. This is where we're going to start to see like rook f6, rook h6, Judith Polgar type of stuff. Or queen f6, another stonewall attack motif. This type of stuff. You made a big mistake putting your knight on f3. So I don't like Ravi Kumar castling queenside, but I think white's position is already... And you see Plaskett is playing exactly like Nimzovich. This is... Okay. Do you have like 911 in Germany? Poison control or... Oh my god, man. Rook g1 would be a little telegraphing. You were talking about dangerous before? This is dangerous. Can you call poison control? Knight takes f2. Tactic. Yasser Seirawan flash tactics. You have 10 seconds to come to tactic. Boom! Refute that. I just want to know what happens here. Do you have any comments, questions? You were proud of that move at first. Let me guess, your opponent didn't find knight takes f2. How do you answer this? Chicken? Wow, it forks everything, by the way. You can't ignore it. Chicken or beef? Chicken or beef? So, oof. So, okay, for example, king takes, pawn takes, bishop takes h7 check just for kicks. Here, bishop e4. Ooh, even queen h4 check is nasty. I'm not sure that's the best move, but it's an option. Yeah. Bishop takes e4, queen takes e4, rook takes f3 check. I don't want to be white. And g4, knight takes f2, queen takes f2. And now black plays this. So maybe you could survive, but the bigger issue is really this is like a multiple pronged problem. I mean, you got this and you've got this. I think you're just screwed after knight takes f2. But your opponent is purely playing kind of standard strategy here. So he plays knight g5. Not looking for combos. This is a much more straightforward pin it and win it type of tactic. Obviously, you have to sack the rook, but it's not a catastrophe because the good news is you sack the exchange. You have knight takes e6, don't you? Get it back. I'm gonna wager that black probably missed that he thought he could take a rook, then it was like, oh shit, he has knight takes e6. So this is probably second sort of thought. So you still have chances. Rook g1, and now this is defended, and then if he takes, you have bishop takes h7. So suddenly you swindled your opponent out of his advantage, and you're actually really going to castle queenside now. And your bishops look good. Maybe black should consider taking here. No, a strange move, but this is an interesting idea. Probably not good, but something I would consider. Your pawns are so strong, but no. After this, f takes g4, you just take on h7. I mean, you can't be worse. It's 0.0. You have an interesting move here, d5, shutting down his bishop, which is apparently best. Okay, so knight takes, queen takes, rook g1, c5. Problem with this move is that it opens up your bishop on b2. So you could castle queenside, but there's a problem. So if you castle queenside, he takes, and you can't take with the pawn. Well, honestly, like maybe f4. So after c5, you played d5. You saw there's a strange connection here before. Usually we do the 4 on the f file with the bishop on c4, but this is a 4. This is a very rare dark square 4. Coordination between the dark square diagonal and the G file on converging on G7. Interesting. And so black you know, your two bishops are quite good. You have bishop takes f5. So it's hard to say what black should do, but I think he should try to, like, do something. Maybe this doesn't work. Well, maybe it does. Maybe knight e5. I mean, you're undermining his structure, for example. But this is a mess. I mean, I don't know. e4, bishop e2. You know, pawn here. He'll probably pick that off. You can castle queenside, though, and I think you're okay. For once, we know where to put your king. So king's going to castle queenside. d5, e takes d5, f5 goes, and now both bishops open up. This is very thematic. It's more like a BOGO than a NIMZO. Bishop takes f5, knight e5, and now castles queenside. Where else? Because he was threatening knight f3 check. And now you're threatening f4. So he plays knight f3, avoiding that. He played rook g3. And now his knight is attacked. So he plays d4, defending his knight on f3. Very logical. So here, you decided to move your king, because it's pinned. The pawn, that is. King b1. Looks good. You have to be a little bit careful, because of something like this. You have to watch this yourself, maybe. D takes e3. Uh-oh. So yeah, I was thinking about black here playing rook a e8. I was actually thinking he might sack the exchange. Does he have it right away? Oh no. Dude, it's keep going. 30 out of 150 sub points. We just got a message, some kind of hype train. Is that a hype train notification? Gabble roll mops. Where is everybody? You don't want to learn chess? You guys don't want to learn how to play chess? No apologies necessary. I was just kidding. Morales, it's just kind of ironic because usually I know you're busy and you can't make it. So I wouldn't have done the analysis if I thought you were coming. Gobble roll mops, you hypnotized me with 100 bits. I'm thinking black could sack the exchange, but it's supported by your queen. So now I don't know what I'm thinking. Morales, you're welcome. I'm just thinking like black needs to come up with a good move. How? It's ironic that like even g6 sucks. You know, even if it was like g6 and he had time to take your bishop, you're skewering him on the g file. It's like a joke, you know. Like, he can't get your bishop off that diagonal. If he sacks the exchange, it's defended. f5 is defended, and you're still killing him on the g file. So it's like I don't know what to do here with black. I want to play this, but it doesn't do anything, you know. Objectively, it doesn't look like he has a great move. Maybe knight h4? See, that's another problem. Now the f4 starts rolling. So, I don't know. I think he's just in big trouble. This is really messing up his king, and now you've got rook h3. Obviously. His king is in a very dangerous place. You have this. He has this move, though, this blocker with knight h4. Which opens up threats here for him. But it's like he's 1 millimeter from absolute death. All you need to do is attack h4 another time. Or a little more pressure on the dark squares and black is done. So you have like queen c3, threatening to overload his queen. Here's an example. Queen c3, you could try to overload the black queen from defense of these 2 points. So you don't really want to drop your bishop, but I'm just saying it is hypothetically possible because he gets mated on g7. Okay, you have other moves, right? Bishop g8. Not in this moment. Rook takes here doesn't do much right now. So you just took back. This is not an inspiring move. I was hoping he had something better, but I guess he's starting to push that pawn. Okay, so takes. Now he... Don't know if he saw this. I mean, he's sacking in exchange with rook f6. Did he mean to do that? I wonder. He doesn't have to, you know. I think it's still a game. I mean, honestly, he can try to defend in a more conventional way. He's trying to bail out. But you end up winning the exchange. And the exchange is an exchange. Now he takes with the pawn. Ew. Could he take with the queen, maybe? I'd prefer to take with the queen. But I can see this as well. Alright. So this is hanging. D6 is hanging. You just simplify. Okay. It's good enough. You're up a clear exchange now. I think you're winning. Yeah, game over. At least he has to try queen. No, he's lost. He's lost. Okay, he has to allow a trade of queens. This is a good call. He still can put up some resistance in the end game. Check, takes, and his knight is on a nice sideline square. You have maybe e4, rook d3. Yep. Yep. Now get the file. If you get the file, you don't need to get the file. Okay. Maybe rook g2. Still can't finish him off. He's a good defender. Covering b4. It looks like the technical part of this game you played really well. Oh! Surprise. Queen f4 was a killing move. You subscribe with Prime? Nice. Uber driver. God bless Amazon. Just kidding. Queen f4 was a killing move? Oh. Oh yeah, no, trading the queens. No, it looked like a good game in the end. Okay, Gabble Tromops, thank you for your support. Good game. Next up is Sung Prism. We're doing the viewer games first, and then I'm gonna do next. Oh, we've got opening. Wait, we've got the other guy. Yeah. Our director submitted a game. Thank you, Gabble Tromops, for being part of our analysis stream. Dragonfly Hunter, welcome. You have decided that I will never learn how to play chess. Your play is unfixable. We can put you in an Uber driver together in a adult class for unlearning chess and then relearning. That's what Korchnoi claimed to do, right? Oh no. French defense. Oh, Uber driver. Oh no. Uber driver. Uber driver played the French defense. Dude, seriously? The Rubinstein variation? It's so bad. It's so bad. Okay, so Sung Prism is black. This is an online game. E4, E6, D3, King's Indian attack. You know, I played a teammate, one of my teammates, back last year in an IM tournament, and actually it wasn't a teammate, but a player who is friends with my team, and he played in one of our tournaments. And I played this Chigorin variation, and he played, you know, he turned it into a Sicilian, basically. I know you've done that against me. So you gonna do that in this game? But this is different. Okay, white plays D3. He can still play Queen E2. Black plays d5. So I would think, like, some Prism, if you want to be consistent, I mean, we've seen you play the c5 Sicilian type setups against Queen e2. I mean, I guess the question is, do you want to do that here? You can still do both. Kaidanov, and I remember John Watson in his French book, Play the French or whatever, recommended this weird setup. Well, not weird, but I think a lot of strong players have played like this, essentially, where black does bishop d6. This particular move order, not so much, because usually white does like knight on bd2, and so now bishop d6 is the main move. Yeah, bishop d6 is the main move. Bishop g2, knight on g to e7. That's kind of classic King's Indian attack. But you have a choice here. You have a choice here between c5 and d5. You don't have to commit to d5 necessarily. You can play c5, just like against the Chigorin move. You can play c5, and you don't have to necessarily play d5. Anyway, d5 has to be good. You can play e5. Larry Tapper did something like that against me. I know you can. You can play anything. b6, bishop e7. Amos Byrne, your favorite player, played bishop e7. Uber driver. Knight d2, and now knight e7. I don't know why Sun Prism likes doing this. You did this against me in some games, but I suppose it's like a thing. Bozidar Marinovic versus Palos in 1990. He was Bosnian, I am. Palos Osman passed away. I think he was pretty hard. He had a pretty tough life. Okay, knight e7, knight on g f3. This is a weird move to play, though. I don't know why I use this particular move order. Kind of rare, I would think. I feel like I had a game with Larry Tapper in the 90s where he did something like knight c6, I did knight f3, and he did the e5 a tempo down, you know. Nevenici Ivan Farago, Ivan. You can even do that. I would think like white might have d4. But this is weird, 97, okay. So look who's played this. Bruno Carlier, Palos played it. Anton Sitnikov, Mark Lyle, multiple games. Paul Rovitz in 1989, the Danish FM, who I played in the World Senior. I'm not really sure I get why you do this, but it's a move. Yeah, but now white must have d4. Yeah, you're basically begging white to play like d4, aren't you? But still, it's okay. It's playable for black. Yeah, Sinus, your point is well taken. I mean, of course white could play d4. I don't like knight e7. I mean, I like c5. I like Tapper's move. What else? I mean, I like knight f6. It's a standard move. Don't really personally like knight e7. I don't know why I keep losing internet on my second machine. The Wi-Fi. It's an old machine. Okay, so knight e7, strange move. And now, like Sinus says, d4 is interesting. 3 players have played h4 in this position, including Erling Mortensen, and also Sebe Attila. What's up with that, bro? It's like an anti-97. 97 is so bad, it allows white to play h4. Yeah, I mean, this is bizarre. But, I don't really get this 97 thing. It's like you started with this. I would think like that's probably how these games could have come about, more likely. You know, black plays some funky 97 and then decides to play d5. But I don't know what the big plus side of this is. So anyway, 92, 97 sort of dubious. White plays, you know, normally, and now g6. So you can kind of backdoor it into like a normal King's Indian attack. It looks like you have a lot of weird dark square weaknesses. Get an Ethernet cable, plug it directly in the router. Guess what? My notebook doesn't have an Ethernet port. Then I have to get a cable that has an Ethernet connector. And I've done that before, Uber driver. But it's just not the same. Okay, so g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, castles now. So we transposed back into a kind of normal King's Indian attack. I still don't see any point in black's move order with the early 97. c5, main move. And now white, the number one rule is when there's tension in the center, you want to start maneuvering. Always maneuver and withdraw your pieces from the center. See, the main move is rook e1 now. But he plays knight e1. So when that happens, that's good for us. He's taking pressure off the center while there's still tension in the center. This queen is undefended. There's nothing we can really do about it. I mean, I think with a slow move like knight e1, you obviously like can consider moving something like a second time. Say e5, you would switch to what is essentially a different structure. Now it's because white's move is so slow, you can actually play the white side of a King's Indian at this point. You know, you get people who do some weird stuff. You know, knight h4. I've seen Ilinchich will do that. Okay, knight c6 is normal. Queen e2. This is really awkward now. Also, Chigorin would do that in some cases where he would like leave that knight d4 there. It's true. There's nothing you could do with knight d4 now. So you play that kind of reflexively. I don't think it's necessarily a good move. He's covered c2 already. What are we gaining by playing knight d4? We're chasing his queen back to d1. I'd rather make a constructive move here with black. So, as I mentioned, you can change the pawn structure to, you know, Black Lives Matter, in this case, White Lives Matter type of King's Indian structure. Yes. The other idea is b5. I want to be a little careful about this diagonal. So, I was going to suggest rook b8 with the idea of moving the b pawn to b6 or b5. But while we're at it, you know, a5, a4, I don't know. You know, that kind of leaves us sort of fixed. So b5 is definitely a move. b5 is definitely a move. This isn't so constructive. White goes back. You're going to get kicked back. So what did you really gain in the long run? You're just making the move because it's obvious. And then he's going to kick us out with c3. b6 is okay. What I like about b6 is that it keeps this open. As opposed to b5. We might, you know, if white plays c3, kick us out, we might be able to use this diagonal. c3, knight back, and then f4. And this was obviously white's intent when they played knight e1 to clear the way for the f pawn to advance. Thanks everyone for joining us. We have another notification. Meti 1111. Meti 11. Sorry, just 111. 4 E's but 111. Has followed. So Mr. Coffee's health is now down to 1935. Pawn takes pawn is overrated. We almost never want to do this. Unless you can force him to take with a piece. If you can force him to take with a piece, this suddenly would morph into a Leningrad Dutch with reverse colors, where white has a backward pawn and a clear target on d3. The problem is he can take with the pawn, and it's not really good for you. Another option is to play d4 at some point, but white will probably just lock the structure. You might be able to play like this, but you have to evaluate some complicated stuff, like what happens on f5. Uh-oh. For example, f5 we can't take because we get slammed on the diagonal. Knight f5, bishop takes c6, etc. So there's a lot of complicated stuff with the pawns here. You played bishop b7. This is normal. You might want to consider rook b8. Not committing this bishop to one square or the other. Bishop b7, queen e2, okay. And now d4. Now you committed to d4, but this needs to be, like, you know, planned out. Are we just invading Iran, or do we have a plan? I think that e5 is going to run into f5. The most flexible move for black here is probably queen d7. I would recommend queen d7. Defending your bishop, keeping flexible, connecting the rooks. It also supports f5. In the case of some sort of f5 type of advance, this looks best to me. Let's see what the computer says. It's top 3. f6 is an interesting move too. Weakening e6 looks a little scary. Alright, so you go d4, he goes c4, and you play d5, but the problem, as I said, is going to be this, and Alexander Ivanov is going to get you. What are you going to do about f5, bro? Chigorin. I feel like there was a game I had where the same thing happened recently. Was it against Sun Prism? Wait, there's no access to this square. But f5 looks scary. You have bishop h6, which is interesting. I guess this is recommendable. But I don't know after f5 who's better. He plays this. And that's a little slow. I don't really know what white's doing. I mean, he's keeping this knight to come to where? To c2, to guard against knight b4, guard the base of his pawn chain. You played f5 here, which is too much probably, so Feingold would say you take on f4, right? Move 11 claims that I don't watch Feingold, but that's one of his, you know, standard quotes or whatever. Always take on f5. If pawn takes pawn, you fix the structure, you can play this. And, you know, you can cover the e6 square with your queen. It looks kind of standard. Usually the structure, though, is pretty good for white. If they have a pawn on c5, or c4 in this case, and in the King's Indian it would be, with black it would be c5, they have control of that. And so when they get this type of structure where they blockade the center, the fact that white has control of this square is very useful, because you can't access d5 with a piece. That's D, Poop Driver, b5. That was an earlier, okay, because b5 here could also be a suggestion, but not just yet. So f5, risky, and white played knight g5 with the very deep threat of knight e6. Now, queen d7 is better than queen d6. But I like that it defends b7. That's where we always put the queen in this French type of setup. Oftentimes in the Sicilian, it goes to like c7. This is not a Sicilian, though. It's protecting this bishop. You're connecting the rooks. It's natural. Protects e6. He went here, but this doesn't do anything about the bishop, so the bishop's on the diagonal. It's not protected. Plus, the queen is generally more exposed on d6. So apparently this was best. He plays this, which is hard to understand, because now the pin is no longer relevant. Takes here, and now h6, knight e5, and then you played h takes g5. White goes back. g5's hanging. And you have f takes e4. But f takes e4 would be the idea. What's our follow-up? What's our follow-up if f takes e4? Like, again, if our queen was on d7, we could play, like, here with a crushing protected pass pawn. We can't do that if our bishop's hanging. So, for example, here, 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 here. You know, for just random example. Black's better. I don't know if it's winning, but black is much better, obviously. So, yeah, a whole bunch of like random moves happened, and it's a rapid game. Black now plays g4. That gives white time to secure e4. Plays the wrong way, and now you have bishop h6. Very passive for white now. What is white doing? I mean, he's like just passive. Rook a e8, b3. Horrible, right? Because this diagonal. Knight c6. Queen d1. Can he back up any more? Queen d1, getting the queen off the open file. Knight e5, now clear attack on d3. Queen c2, oh my god. White has just gone completely backward for like the last 6 moves. Bishop h6, you finally found it. That was in the position for a while, strategically. And it's like a king's Indian. And this is undermining e4. Essentially. I'm not playing with people now. I'm just analyzing games. Matei. Tomorrow I'll play a couple games on Friday. This is analysis, so now white just doesn't know what they're doing. They played a4, check, king h1. And I imagine white is lost here. Strategically lost. Black has too much space. But there was the whole middle period of this game where some prism, it felt like you were kind of drifting without calculating. King g7, a5, it's too slow, rook h8. Also there, I mean, maybe you shouldn't give him any counterplay. You can pretty much reduce counterplay to 0 after a5. I'm not sure you want to give him that free kick there. In addition, you could also play a different way. Rather than king g7, maybe, you know, you could try to lift a rook and over here. I don't know which is better. So yeah, see you tomorrow. a5. It's not enough counterplay. So we get a spectacular mate. Okay, this is an Asterbait style. Asterbait style submission. Oh no. Rook takes h2 check. Oh no! Rook takes h2 check. And the beautiful mate. Alright guys, that was our substitute Asterbait game. Now I've got another game here from, and this was the game I was confusing. This is from our director. This was the game from... yeah, that was not really a serious game from Subprism. It was a kind of crappy quality, rapid game. Need to play more longer games. So I have an open discussion about this in a minute, but this is a game submitted by our director, aka Iatan. Black played G6. And you are white here, right? No. You must be black. Alright. You must... Oh, no, this isn't your game. I forgot. Could you analyze this game? Okay. So this is Kamsky Omadiaki. Okay. This must be an old one. It's Kamsky Omadiaki. So Omadiaki doesn't play. I think he's like a chess politician. And he was married to Zhu Chen, a female Chinese player. He's, I forget where he's from. He's a GM. I played him in Blitz, I remember, years ago. He used to play the classical dragon with white. I played this in tournaments. He's old like me, probably. Okay, so is Kamsky. I'm close to Kamsky's age. Gada's a couple years younger than me. Alright, G6, castles, bishop G7, rook E1. This is Kamsky versus Almadiaki. An old game, I suppose. It was in some exercise. Okay, to find white's move 19. So standard Rosslimo. I didn't realize that Gada played the Rosslimo, but he plays pretty much everything. So, I have no idea when this game is from, by the way. Rook E1, E5. And now... Is this where Bobby played B4? Or no? Different position, I guess. There was Bobby versus Boris in the... I'm getting like Uber driver. Bobby versus Boris. Bobby Boris in the world... Yeah. The rematch, 1992. Bobby was playing the Rosslimo with white. Am I... Yeah. And that's so weird, right? Boris... Wait, Boris was white? Maybe I need Butterfly Hunter to help me. Dragonfly Hunter... Wait. Was it Fischer... Spassky? Was Fischer playing the Rosslimo with white, right? But I don't understand, you know. That seriously happened. But why was Spassky playing Sicilian, you know? Are you serious? It was just a... That was just like an exhibition match, basically, anyway. Spassky had no chance. It was sort of just exhibition. Anyways, so Gada here takes. Black takes to the D pawn. This is standard. And now white plays D3. Although that's not the only move. I saw a really good game that I mentioned before. The Panamaria of Kramnik from this line. But again, I get confused sometimes about not exact positions. So black can play queen e7, knight f6, knight d7, knight f8, knight e6. And then knight controls like the d4 and f4 squares. So I think that's best. Queen e7, idea knight f6, defending the e5 pawn. Idea knight f6, knight d7. Clearly that's the best move statistically. Except for b6, which is played just rarely. But instead black plays knight e7. So the issue with knight e7 is like, okay, where is that knight going exactly? Here's the game. Yeah. There is a Spassky game. But, you know, can anybody explain to me why Spassky would play the Sicilian? So knight e7. Not a great move. Because the knight has no freaking mobility from this square. It literally has no squares it can move to, so obviously I'm going to put it on e7. I mean, the idea, of course, it doesn't get in the way. I mean, it still gets in the way of the queen. Now, a3. That's the standard idea, to break with b4. Basically, white is playing like an anti-Dutch on the other side of the board. Black plays a5. Now white plays bishop e3. This is probably a transposition. Now b6. This is standard structure. b4 is our break. Actually, Iatan, if you look at my games, I've played this type of line in Blitz with a guy from our stream, Redusa. I probably have a game or two almost identical to this. We could check. No, none in this exact position. All right. Knight on bd2. Check again. Nope. I don't play it that much. Okay. And now black played a4. And my question would be, what are you doing? Okay, a4 is a very obnoxious move. So basically with a4, black's being like kind of greedy. Black, the plan is for white to play b4 and break the queen side, and he's threatening it now. So if you do something like castles, notice that no one played castles. Well, b4 happens and we break the queen side. Freeze Nielsen. So a4 hits before we have time to play b4. And now white played b4 anyway in some game. So if white plays b4 anyway, black takes en passant. And we have to take with a knight. So b4 anyway takes en passant. Manic lost. He was probably drinking large amounts of Palinka before the game against me. A takes b, knight takes b. a4, a5. But let's say, what happens if rook a4? So it's not so easy to break up black's structure. Break up. That's the point. So what does Kamsky do? He prepares it with queen b1. Okay, queen b1. And obviously, this is not about queen a2. This is about supporting your b4, b3 break. Black now decides to play queen c7. This is from 2008, by the way. Interesting. That's after Gata came back. I played Gata in 2006 or something. He hadn't played for a long time. He was very, very inactive for like 5 years between, I guess, maybe 1998 and 2004, 2005. There was this period where Kamsky was going to medical school or law school or both or something supposedly. So Gata was very out of practice. He didn't play for a long, long time. Came back, and this is post comeback. Queen b1, queen c7, b3, and now that's a funny move because on Mariaki, if b4, he's going to take on b4. By the way, Mariaki is kind of a positional player, so judging by the way he plays the white side of the Sicilian, he's not some kind of, tactical maniac. This position might not be the ideal against him, his style. Tactical players don't play the white side of the classical dragon in a positional fashion like Omariaki. Anyway, queen b1, b3, queen b1, queen c7, b3, and now black just castles, of course. He's not worried about a taking on a. takes, rook takes, so everything's under control. Queen b3 now. Rook a6 guarding the base of the pawn chain. And Gata plays a4. So now there's a problem. We're threatening a5. This is a very serious problem. That's the whole concept. Breaking up black's pawn chain. Favorable way. I want to notice Mr. Freeze here on e7. The Mr. Freeze can defend b6, but that's not really the problem. Defending b6 isn't the issue. a5 breaking up the structure is the issue. c5 is the issue, right? Because we get in a5, we crack c5. It's not really a question of defending b6. It's a question of defending c5. And I think it's going to fall apart. How is black going to prevent the structure from falling apart? You know, I don't see it. So bishop e6, queen c3. And now h6 like a standard move. But what are we doing about a5? You know, honestly here, Mariaki might have a trap. There's a Dutch trap that happens in a very similar position. White just did something random, like h3 or something. My point is going to be that you have this that happens in the Dutch. In a very similar way in the anti-Dutch. And basically, like, it's like you have to take it, and then they take it back, but there's like double threats. d4 fork, plus just trapping the bishop on e3, plus e4. There's all sorts of threats here. Apparently it doesn't work quite as d4. Oh my god. The only move, it refutes it. Alright, anyway. But it's an idea. Knight d5 is an idea. White has to watch out for that. Now a5, what I'm wondering about is a5. Why isn't a5 good right away? Well, I mean, my point is that Gata has to watch this stuff. I don't think it's good here, though. It's too slow. Why would Kamsky not play a5? I mean, it looks pretty strong, honestly. So I know you're talking about it's a puzzle for move 19, or it's an analysis position for move 19. But a5 looks legitly strong. So he could have played that right away. Instead, he doesn't. He plays this. You know, obviously aware. Kamsky's a strong player. He was aware he had a5. Decides not to do it right away. He's like threatening a5. Now, the Rosalimo opponent takes on b3. Now, black's given up their compensation for the bad structure. And then we're like expecting what here exactly? Queen takes? No. He takes with the pawn. This is nothing special. White's pawns are on the right color. Mariaki switches plans to rook d8. But, if you think about it, like, first of all, the knight on e7, right? It's bad. It never moved. He still has traps like knight d5, but it probably doesn't work. Secondly, all of Kamsky's pawns, you know, 5 out of 7 pawns are on the right color. Black's bishop on g7 is very bad. He traded off his good bishop, his compensation bishop. So white is better, right? But, you know, this a5 move has been in the position forever. Now he plays it now. And then black's in trouble. I mean, this isn't like a surprise. I mean, we've seen this coming for a long time. Black just has a bad structure, as well as 2 bad pieces. I think, you know, 2 clearly inferior pieces, and now, you know, a worse structure because he has 3 islands against 2. Knight c8. Mr. Freeze goes back to c8. Black would like to play bishop f8, but his pawn on e5 is a target as well. You might want to resign here early. h4, Gata grabbing space. Knight d6, that's the best the knight's been all game. Now you could take and still be slightly better, but it's not much. And Almatyaki is threatening knight b5, knight d4, maybe getting that knight in the game finally. That's what happens. Rook c1, knight b5, queen c4. Now knight d4 is no good. We take with the bishop and win the c6 pawn. He goes here. Bishop e3, attacking c6, knight d4 now. But it's basically the same thing. Take, bad bishop, good knight. Bad pawn on c6, bad pawn on d4, bad pawn on a5. Can Almatyaki hang on with like counterplay against these other weak pawns? g3, queen b6, knight d2. You know, when Almatyaki played h6, I was wondering. Sorry, when Gata played h4. You know, here I couldn't help wondering if Black should play h5. I mean, not just the threat of h5, right? But also Black's ability to get his bishop in the game with maybe bishop h6. Wouldn't this be... I mean, are you really worried about this? Is this a problem? Like, nothing's going to happen with that. I'm not worried about that now. Shouldn't Almatyaki be considering playing h5? Like, fixing this pawn on h4? So some of his pawns are on the right color? And maybe being able to play bishop h6 later? I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know. So h5 is not even on the board. There must be like a serious problem. I guess there's just no time. But then again, why does Gata need to play h4 then? So I don't understand. Gata has time or needs to play h4 and Black doesn't have time to play h5. Why is h5 so bad? Rook a1. But then why couldn't White play rook a1 in the first place? Here. Maybe he could have. So here's the bigger question. Why is this not just strong now? Doesn't make sense to me. If h4, h5 is no good. We have rook a1 right away. It is the best move, apparently. Black has a strange defense. Rook a1, knight a7. Although I think that's independent of h4. h4. Maybe an inaccuracy by Gata. Wasn't necessary to play that. But what Black did here is probably not good. He wins a pawn. And yeah, not the player you want to be in a tactical endgame against. Because Gata loves to play long games and grind people down. Yeah, he's got to take the open file. I just wonder if Black has chances to hold here. I lost against Kempsky. I resigned the pawn down, and people were surprised, but I didn't want to get tortured. I resigned very early against him, like the earliest I ever resigned a game, where I was just down a pawn. Because this is what I didn't want to experience, like 4 hours of getting tortured. But here Almatyaki almost has enough compensation. I mean, I wonder if this isn't possibly a draw. Ultimately, though, how does White keep this protected and make progress? Let me just see this, right? Rook c3. Oh, man, check this out. So there's your answer. Watch White's play now. Wow, so Gata doesn't... Oh my god, he doesn't play rook b2. This is brilliant, though. So if rook takes b3, we play rook, I guess, a2. This is very well calculated. He plays... You know, most people would go here, and I don't think that White can win. So this is a very nice endgame by Kamsky. he calculates that after e5, okay, we have entry with the king here, which is important. But it's also important, like when we go rook a2, e5 gains space, but it allows us to go like king f3, king e4, and then defend the d3 pawn from e4. Maybe take out the pawn on d4 with the king. Black plays a surprising move now, f6 though. I don't know. I mean, I would think that black has chances to survive this. f6 is the best move. Wow. So e5 is a star move. It looks like it's a star move. Very interesting endgame. e5, f6, takes, king f7, king f3, king f6, king e4. Rook b3, king d4. b4, I don't know if that's a good idea. Does b4 help black? b4, king c4, rook b1, rook e2, h5, d4, king f5, rook e3, rook d1. How do we make progress? d5, rook d2, f4, king f6, rook b3. Oh no. 2 pawns up. And he resigned. All right, good game. So now, having seen that, let's take a look at this opening I faced the other day. Everybody, please donate, subscribe. Donate, subscribe, donate, subscribe, donate, subscribe. Where is everyone? We have 7 viewers. Are you serious? Okay, that's it. I quit. I'm just going to play Bullet. Just kidding. I don't care. People don't want to learn chess. They're too stupid. You know, they voted for Donald Trump. Viktor Orban. Netanyahu. Alright, e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, and d5 was played against me. Now, I have a question for anyone who plays this move. Why even play the Sicilian? Because you could just play the Scandinavian on move 1. And so my question was, is this better or worse than normal Scandinavian? Because I really wasn't sure. So I cheated and I checked with the engine, and ironically, it's exactly the same. After bishop e5, d5, Stockfish says it's half a pawn. Yeah, it's super tough to play queen a5. That's true. But you have your other wonderful variations. You could play queen d8, Uber Driver, and pretend you're playing the great Rubinstein variation of the French. No, you have queen e6 check in this case. After pawn takes pawn, I had a game like this, and after knight c3, queen e6 check, it's something special. So the dilemma, here, by the way, just for interest, the evaluation is the same, half pawn. No, it's a pity that Rubinstein would be associated with such a bad opening as that variation of the French that you play. Because honestly, I recall him playing the Bern variation. He did that, but that's different. That's different. I don't know how often he actually played the Rubinstein. There are much better lines he could be associated with. It's a tragedy that he's associated with that crap. So, after d5, what is White's best move here? The obvious suggestion is pawn takes pawn, attack the queen. But I looked at this, and the problem is this queen e6 check. If you trade queens, you have very little. I did this in a game. I took back with the king, and I had the tiniest advantage here for white, if anything, after bishop d7. It's not enough. This is just a safe way for white to play. It's almost equal. So I wouldn't repeat that. I mean, I realized that like this is an option. I even looked at 92. But what I'm curious about is maybe there's a better option than taking. So we can check the database, the Opening Explorer. But I had this idea that there's an interesting move here, b3. And our fans of the Fajarowitz would like this. You, of all people, should appreciate this, Uber driver. b3, pawn takes pawn, knight e5. This has never been played in an OTB game. Queen d4, knight takes c6. Wait a minute. So I looked at this, but I didn't look at everything. Yeah, this is just bad. Knight takes c6, b takes c6. Bishop takes c6, check. Ugh. And then we have this in-between move, c3. So queen d4 is not a move right away. You know, even if it was, check this out. You can play this. Because Blobix, I don't know if you remember Blobix Super Driver. This was one of Blobix's favorite traps. Yeah. Of course you do. Queen takes b2, knight c3. It's Jonah and the whale. Just trapped queen. Bishop e6. It's not so simple. It's not so simple. Knight c6, a6, knight d4 check, a takes b5, knight d takes b5. Just trap queen. Very simple stuff here. It's very, very simple. Just trap the queen. That's Super Driver. Still not trapped. 10 moves later and it's still not trapped. Wow, the computer likes knight c3. So that's interesting. I hadn't run it on this machine that's faster than my phone and my notebook. The fastest computer prefers knight c3 here. I like b3 though. So after b3, d takes e4, knight e5, queen c7 is best. By the way, what happens... Jesus Christ. Did somebody else do that? I went to my other variation. Oh, this happened in a game. That's funny. Gavrilescu did what I did. That's crazy. Exact same game. Yeah, this has been played already. Stupid. So, takes, no. b3, d takes e4, knight e5. Why not bishop d7? Yeah, this is really good for white. Bishop takes c6. Well, let's say bishop takes c6. Knight takes c6, b takes c6, bishop b2. And you have the wonderful structure. What, that's not good? e6. There's a game here. Queen e2, knight f6, knight c3, bishop e7, and now g4. g4 castles g5, knight d5, knight takes e4, a5, a4, c4, or knight f4. Anyway, good stuff, right? Yeah, make sure you castle in the attack. Don't forget to play with some pawns. All right, so anyway, B3 is interesting, but it's never been really tested. Okay, but it looks like the engine actually persists. So this move, like it's very interesting. Bellini, Fabrizio Bellini, the guy who played a lot of Roslimos and avoided playing the Bishop B5 check against me in the World Senior. So these Italian guys, Bellini and another guy, there was a Roslimo guy, Giulio Borgo. Fabrizio Bellini. So this has been played. I don't know why people are playing this with black. It doesn't seem very good, but I never really looked at it. So anyway, knight c3. And isn't d4 like annoying? I like this position. I get it from the French type stuff. But I'm not sure. I like this version so much. No one played that. Yeah, I like it. Knight a4. Wow, this really deserves some closer analysis. I like this. This is totally up my alley. Okay. So everyone played d takes e4. Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes e4. Bellini versus some guy. B takes c, knight takes e4, knight f6, queen e2 is best. Queen e2 is best. And now black played queen d5, but knight e4 right away, followed by queen d5. Is this a correspondence game? Oh no, it's Neil Sarin. Svane Sarin, 2023. D3. These guys know everything, and it was like 3 years ago and they knew this. Dude, you're weird. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you a tier 2 subscriber? I think you have to be tier 2 to subscribe and use like 10 comments in one screen. To make 10 consecutive comments, you have to be at least tier 2, Uber driver. I'm sorry. And no mentioning mama. That's just creepy. D3. Okay, anyway, this was worth taking a look at. Yeah, you've got issues, man. You've got issues. The Verisov isn't real. That's not a real opening. Okay. So, we got a lot of options here. But the takeaway is that, interestingly, unlike the normal, like, Scandinavian, where e takes d5 is white's only good move, here, it is not. First interesting thing is that, you know, in the Scandinavian, this move knight c3 is inferior. Here it's actually quite good for white, particularly because of d4 knight a4. This is very interesting stuff. And if queen d6, what about queen c7? Just hangs a pawn. Nice doing business with you. Queen d6, e5, queen c7, they take c5. This is really messed up. This is really messed up. Queen b6, bishop takes c6. Very greedy. But I'll take it. Anyway, this is some interesting stuff. Okay, I just want to share that with you guys. I played this. Queen takes d5. I played like Gavrilescu. The castles is maybe a good option. Castles. I was afraid of this pin though. The pin is very annoying. Pin is mightier than the sword. I wasn't sure about this. Do I do knight c3? Allow bishop takes? So knight c3, queen f5. Or bishop takes f3. Knight takes d5. This is another, looks like another, this Blobix would have liked this. Doesn't seem like black played this optimally. Queen f5. Bishop takes c6 check, b takes c. Alexander Ivanov. I'm really not liking this. d3. And then black takes anyway. You have to take with the queen. You get one of these dumb Scandinavian endgames. They're going to put a knight on f5, right? e6, knight e7, and knight f5. Wow, you scared everyone away, Uber driver. We were up to 13 viewers. It is analysis stream. But anyway, thanks for donating. Mr. Coffee down to 1935. What do I have to do? I have to play bullet? I'm not going to play bullet chess. So we're analyzing this very strange Scandinavian. d5, sorry, it's a Sicilian Ras Limo that looks like a Scandinavian. E takes d5, queen takes d5. I played knight c3, black plays queen e6 check. I play queen e2, queen takes e2 check, king takes e2, bishop d7. I have nothing, right? But I'm playing a training game against like a 2100 FIDE player. And here, what did I do? I did d3. d3. Knight d4 check. This is a very bad move by black. Takes. Bishop takes. King takes. Knight e4. Threatening knight g5. This looks familiar, but it feels like something's wrong. Something's wrong. e6 or e5. e6. Knight g5. Knight h6. Knight f3. Bishop c5. This is my game. And now white to move. Black played this very badly. I mean, knight d4 is a terrible move. This is a terrible move for black. I don't know what he was thinking. It's a very bad move. In fact, the only mistake the guy made in like 48 moves. That was a bad move. There's no reason to do that. This is a horrifying move. These are with a weak pawn on d4. It was a terrible, terrible move. Impulsive and bad. So anyway, I got nothing. All right, let's take a look now. Larsen-Stein. This is the main thing. This is why we're here, right? To see a real game. All right, Larsen-Stein. And you're not allowed to say mama or any other weird, creepy stuff, or I will time you out. Belgrade, 1970, USSR versus the rest of the world. And Larsen is white, knight f3. Stein, of course, King's Indian, Sicilian. The best, one of the best in the business. Knight f6. And now Larsen with very quiet move, g3. Black plays g6. White plays bishop g2. Larsen could also play classical King's Indian with white, but you know, dude, I'm afraid of Stein. You know, I would be afraid of Stein. If he hadn't been like murdered accidentally by a Russian Soviet nurse who injected him with like air, he probably would have lived a lot longer and crushed a lot of more players. Bishop g7, c4. The Soviets like covered up the fact that he was like killed by nurse malpractice. c4, castle. Castles. d6. Larsen white. d4. Classical, you know. One thing that's interesting that I studied a lot of the best King's Indian players in history. I curiosity, really. I wanted to see, you know, let's say in the 50s, 60s, 70s, what was Tao playing with black? How did Stein, how did Tao play? How did Bronstein play? Geller, how did these? And the funny thing is, if you look at, especially in the 50s and 60s, if you look at how black, the great King's Indian players of the Soviet era, played the King's Indian in the 50s and the 60s, it was always like either a fianchetto variation. Like, look at Tal's games in the King's Indian. Look at Bronstein's games in the King's Indian. Look at Stein's games in the King's Indian. When you get into the 70s, you start getting some classical King's Indians. But it was almost always either fianchetto or the same-ish. That was it. It was like very few like Mar del Platas. That came along in the 70s. This is 1970, so this is right on the borderline. But I just found it really amusing that, like, you know, most people are afraid and they would play G3. Very safe for white, even Larsen. Larsen also could play classically and play, you know, a mainline E4, 3 pawns in the center, C4, D4, E4, King's Indian. But against Stein, I don't know, it could be dangerous. So here we see safe G3 system, D4, knight on BD7. So later Kasparov would follow their lead in the 80s, playing Petrosian as well. Dude, I'm going to have to time you out for that. If you say A4 again, I'm going to time you out. That's not a move here. You can play A4 without C4, like Romanishin. Don't know what you're talking about, dude. Please don't say things like A4. You make the stream look like it's for idiots or something. Okay, knight on BD7, knight C3, E5. Now, main line, of course, is E4. That's what we see. And here, well, there's a question about rook E8. Kasparov swore by C6, but C6 allows. Well, okay, C6 is fine. C6, H3, Queen B6, C5, right? That's a modern line. This is, I don't know where this stands today. That's not, well, it used to be a line. But anyway, C6 and rook E8 are like the most classical moves for black. A6 is a modern move from the 90s. And E takes D4 is like giving up the center right away. I also played H6. This was a Gelfand move. It's not a very good line for black. My last game with that, I'm surprised black scores as good as it is. Alright, so E takes D4 right away, giving up the center. Knight takes D4. Rook E8, rook E1. H3 is also possible. Rook E1, allowing possible knight to G4. So this is an issue. I think that's the thing. Rook E1 allows knight G4, no? Yeah. I don't know how good it is, but it's a thing. And now, I guess it was known back then. I mean, this is 1970. Probably not a secret. So if H3, the queen's defending. You know, if you play rook E1 and knight G4, then you can't take it. I mean, you can take it, but you allow bishop takes D4. Trading pieces. I don't know where this stands. Gary Newt versus Zhou Fang. 1993. New Hampshire Championship. So, Masters, H3. Okay, so I'm looking at the wrong line. Like, this is main line. E takes d4, make main line. Knight takes d4, rook e8, rook e1, rook e1. So he doesn't play knight g4. He does. Oh shit, he does. Alright. He does play it. Stein plays it. Exclamation point. I don't know if that still stands. Exclamation point. I don't know if this is the first time this was played. Anyways. Alright, I'm missing a move here. Knight g4. So Larsen may be unaware of this move at the time. I would probably take it, but Larsen plays more provocatively here. H3 seems to have the best score. I mean, the thing is, you have to look at h3, knight takes f2, king f2, queen f6 check. We have knight f3, right? So that's nothing. What's the point after h3? Black has queen f6 right away. H takes g4, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop takes d4. White is better. After knight d5, there's a problem here. White is just better now, I would think. Seriously better. Okay, that's not good. So after h3, black has to move the knight. Attacking the c4 pawn. This is Lenich Knightich 2016. And a bunch of other games where white has won. So what's the point? b3 or bishop f1? b3, knight c5, attacking the d3 square. And then white allows the knight to come into d3. This is very complicated here. You gotta really know what you're doing if you play the white side of this. I lost playing white because I'm not an expert enough. But anyways, in the game, Larsen plays a really interesting move, f3. Yeah, and black has lost almost every other game where this was played. Not afraid. Golko played the King's Indian? That's weird. Nikolic lost with white. Friedman drew with white. Kluger lost to Sachs. Another guy won with black in 2022. Arkady Vul drew with white. Rogozenko lost with white against Satoshi 91. Black has yet to lose a single game in this variation. Wow. They forgot a game in this wonderful world of the Lichess Opening Explorer. It's funny that Kluger Sachs is here from 1971. It's so funny they would have Kluger Sachs from 1971, but not the much more important Larsen-Stein from 1970. Is that a random Kluger Sachs game from, like, what is that, the World Junior 1971? Actually, that must have been a Hungarian tournament. Jula Kluger. Wow. No, that must be like Hungarian championship. Knight on g to e5. And now b3, defending the pawn. b3, defending the pawn. Knight c5. And say stupid things, you're going to get removed. Knight c5. Bishop e3 now. The rook goes to e2. So I imagine a lot of people here lost with white because they're not Bent Larsen. So what does Larsen play now? b3, knight c5, bishop e3. White has not won a single game in this position. Oh, there is one. Kopolov in 2002. All right, dude. So, bishop e3. We're trying to do something serious here. Analyzing a game from 1970. This is Larsen versus Stein. Bishop e3. The knights are threatening to come in at d3. It looks like maybe white has made a mistake, giving black too much activity. But, you know, what's the point of this position? I mean, I'm really shocked by how bad white's score is. If you look overall, 12 times this position's been played. Black scores 50% wins, 42% draws, and like 1 win. That's horrible. But honestly, if black doesn't strike quickly, white is better because white has more space. I don't know. Is the computer... Yeah. The computer thinks that black is better a tiny bit only if he plays the perfect move here. And most people found it. f5. So this is energetic. This is strong. Black has to strike now. But what about your pawn structure after e takes f5? Is it a tactic? Screw the pawn structure. Larsen-Stein is a great King's Indian player. He has knight d3 maybe. We have knight d3 followed by rook takes e3 and then bishop takes d4. So if you take here, you get this. Joe Gallagher and Sotovsky crushing people. Oh my god. If rook e2, you get rook takes e3, right? Rook takes e3, rook takes e3, bishop takes here. Game over. So Dorian Rogozenko, what was he doing? You can't take on f5. That's not an option. So white is messed up here. You know, interestingly, here's a really crazy thing. Boo versus Rapport 2025. Wow. So Boo not aware that this is probably a really well-known position. White to move now. So okay, we're a tiny bit worse. We messed up, but now we got to play well. So Larsen plays the best move, Queen d2. And regardless, black still has a good score. F takes e4. Bishop g5. Where is black going to go after bishop g5? Is black going to play bishop f6 or is black going to play queen d7? Bishop g5. So Golko played, let's see, bishop f6? No. Panjwani, this young guy, played bishop f6. Golko played queen d7 against Nikolic. That's a very strong win. Both 2600s and 2600 meant something in 1989. I didn't realize that Boris Golko played the King's Indian, though. I never saw him many times, like playing tournaments live. He was very inactive in my career. Yeah, this position looks shaky for black. I mean, white has threats of like knight d5 coming into f6. Maybe bishop f6 is better in a sense. So yeah, the author of the book where I'm getting this from actually suggests Panjwani's line as best. So it looks like bishop f6 actually improves on queen d7. Bishop f6, queen f6, and they look at this. Knight takes e4. Knight takes e4. Rook takes e4. Bishop f5. Rook f4. Knight c6, exclamation point, advantage to black. So this guy, he like digested all this and memorized it, or what? Wow. It's not better for black. It's actually not. That analysis is faulty. Black is not better. G4, rook d1. In every case, white is fine here. Can't trust old analysis. Okay. So, black is okay. White is okay. Is queen d7 better? It is better. Wow. There's another move. Holy shit. Holy shit. Look at this. You ready? Knight takes c4. How does that work? Oh my god. Wow. Knight takes c4. This is insane. This is a theoretical novelty the computer came up with. Sacking a piece. B takes c4, bishop takes d4, check, queen takes d4, queen takes g5. That's very scary for black, though. It's more scary for black than it is for white. So that's why that never happened. Black's king side doesn't have a lot of pieces around it. So queen d7 was played. Yeah, that's fine for a computer. They give this line. They give the line. I'm sorry. Knight takes e4. Another lie. Okay. They didn't give knight takes e4. Queen d7. Knight takes e4. Knight takes e4. Rook takes e4. Now, how does Nikolic lose to Boris Golko with white here? That's what I want to know. White's king is slightly safer. Black's queen and bishop and rook are messed up. How does Nikolic lose with white? Overpressed, probably. Golko was tough. He had a plus score against Kasparov very famously. Alright, one of the few people that has a plus score against Garry Kasparov. Lifetime. So, rook takes e4, knight f7 was played by Golko. And so Stein blundered. Knight takes e4, rook takes e4. He blundered here. Golko probably knows that game, of course. You know. Being from the USSR. He would have known this game. I mean, hell, he was probably a teenager when the game was played. In 1970. So, Stein blunders now. Knight f7 looks good. The bishop has a problem. Rook e8 check, queen e8. And the Yugoslavian Grandmaster brings his bishop back to e3. It looks solid. But black has c5 winning material. Oh my god. Do we want to do that? Wow. So what do you do after knight f7? This threat is c5. What do we do against the threat of c5? Losing the bishop is one thing, but I don't want to get that. So can't we just play like rook ae1 and give him the freaking bishop, man? I would just say rook ae1, no? That loses a piece. Oh my gosh. Alright. So much for that idea. So what's the best move here? We're already lost. Oh my god. It's already lost. Holy shit. So knight f7 wins. It actually wins. And man, Nikolic played right into this. This is winning for black. I can't believe it. Why is this winning for black? That's kind of crazy. Wow. We cannot get out of the pin in a double attack. It's really bizarre. This is very unfair. What about bishop h3? We must have lost Super Driver. Oh, Lichess doesn't show that I'm streaming? Oh my god. It should. It should. Oh wow, I've been kicked out. I've just been kicked out. I'm no longer a priority. The St. Louis Chess Club, Tihan Chernayev, Howl Hub is streaming. So I'm no longer a priority. I guess it alternates. Why are so many people streaming on a Thursday night? That's so rare. It does show, but it just alternates between the 5. But St. Louis Chess Club, we got to have a right-wing billionaire sponsored stream first on the list. That's very important. Lichess is a big supporter of right-wing billionaires. I don't care. Whatever, you know. I don't understand what Howell is doing. He seems like an idiot. Okay, so St. Louis Chess Club sucks. Howell is an idiot. And then there's me and some little kid. But anyway, let's go back. So why does bishop h3 not work? Black has a queen sack. Rook takes e4, bishop takes d7, rook takes e4, check. It's not check, but it's still good. This is unbelievable. Sacks the queen. A rook and 2 pieces for a queen. Oh my god. So, alright, going back to the game. The whole thing is hinging on this queen d7, knight e4, knight e4, and now rook e4 loses to knight f7. But Stein didn't find that, and he blunders here with knight to c6. The more obvious move, but it's not good enough. So what is he thinking? Knight c6. Knight takes c6. So he sacks the exchange. Larsen sacks the exchange here. Yeah, I don't understand. I have 4 viewers. Why? All right. So, very weird. Knight c6, let's see what happened. Knight takes c6, sacking the exchange. Rook takes e4, f takes e4, and now queen takes c6. So, critical is bishop takes a1. Exclamation point by Yanisevich. Bishop takes a1, knight e7, check. King f8, queen f2, check. And now king e8. And then e5. D takes e5, knight d5. Very complicated. Because, well, we have this, bishop d4, right? Bishop d4, bishop e3. The computer claims that white is lost. But it's a computer, man. You can't trust the computer. You can't just take this computer analysis and be like, whoa, it's winning. I mean, it's like, unless you're a computer, it's not so easy. So anyway, We're getting confused in these long variations, but we'll see what happened. So I'm going to make this the main line. This is Larsen versus Stein from USSR versus the rest of the world. Knight takes c6, and then he like took back. After rook e4, fe4, he just took back on c6. So this position, it's like white is lucky to have escaped. Zebra, welcome. White is lucky to have escaped. And white turns the tide here against black. He's not satisfied with, like, you know, holding on. Like, I don't know, moving his rook somewhere. And it's equal material and white can probably draw. No, he plays e5. So this totally turns the tide. Like, all of a sudden, black is worse. e5, sacking a pawn. Queen c5, check. And now not bishop e3, which I would have expected. Because of queen takes e5. King h1. So he sacked the pawn. Now, we have this. How's black's development doing, right? Queen e5, rook e1 is very bad. So he plays this, and now this is bad, but we're pinned, right? b7's hanging. That's not an emergency. Larsen takes it, it's a pawn with tempo. And now we restored material equality. Bishop takes b7, rook f8. Can white win, though? Bishop e3 attacking the queen. Queen takes e5. And now rook e1. 5 pawns each. White totally fucked up the opening. He was completely lost. If black had played perfectly. And now he's actually trying to win. It's pretty remarkable. So Larsen always did that. He was like fighting for a win no matter what. But, I mean, now, you know, there's not that much left here. Not that much material on the board. You would think, like, this would be heading for a draw. We have one last threat of, like, bishop takes a7. So how is this not a draw? Bishop takes, queen takes c5, rook e1. Queen c3, offering a trade of queens. And can white really avoid this exchange of queens? There's too many moves. I mean, if you go here, bishop g4, for example, the queen is tied down to this rook. So Larsen has to accept a trade of queens. Queen c3, king g2. Queen takes d2, check, bishop takes d2. And now black goes on to lose this endgame. White has a better structure, right? 2 islands against 3. Let's see how this happens. So, king g2, queen d2, bishop d2, bishop d4. Threatening rook f2 check. Obviously, opposite colored bishops is going to be a draw, most likely. So he plays this. Another move. Bishop f4. And now king f7. This is a risky move, it turns out. Better to play this. I mean, you might miss bishop c6, bishop d7, for example. So, because the rooks are hanging. If I play like bishop c6, bishop d7, that doesn't work, actually. Bishop c6, he was afraid of bishop c6. You have bishop d5, h3 check. Oh no. Right, thank you guys. Bishop h3 check. All right. Rook e8 was better. You saw that. He's threatening rook takes c to e6, obviously. Yeah, very sleazy. Surviving that bad position. King f7. Bishop h6. Freezing the h-pawn. Better structure for white. Now matching bishops? No. That's not good. He goes here. Bishop c6. That's a funny move. It's like provoking rook b6. You have this check, though. Maybe. So bishop c6. Bishop f6. Bishop e3 attacking the a pawn. a6. How can a top-notch grandmaster lose, right? Bishop d2, freezing this pawn. Rook b6, awkward. That's very awkward. This is a terrible square for the rook. Terrible square. Bishop f3. And then it goes back. He realizes, okay, I don't want my rook there. Rook b8. Bishop a5, probing. Oh, man. He's just probing him. Bishop d8, that's not good. Coordination. Rook f1. King g8. Away from the center. Bishop c6. Uh-oh. Bishop f7. Black's very passive. Look. What happened here? What's he doing? He's like hiding. Oh no. Look, he's frozen. His rook. His bishop's his king. All of his pieces are suddenly like totally messed up. How did this happen? Bishop f7, g4. Bishop e7. That's his most active possible move. King g3, improving the position. Rook d8. Ugh. What happened here? The d5 square. He's threatening to break out with d5. This move is based on the tactic, of course. Bishop takes rook c8. But is it really a threat to play d5? Well, white plays rook d1. Bishop f6. Now, I was thinking maybe bishop d5. But, you know, every exchange would free black a little. So he gains more space. Larsen with the rook pawns. h4, bishop e5 check. King g2. Stay off the f-file. Rook c8. Wonderful square it is. That's a great square. You know you have a good position there. g5 gaining more space. King g7. Bishop d7. Oh, that's awkward. Oh my god. Rook d8. Now the c7's still hanging. Now c8's guarded. So now what do you do about your pawn? You can't protect it. You can't protect it. What are you going to do? d5, right? Oh no. You got to play d5. What could possibly go wrong? White could attack d5 again. With bishop f3, black will play d4. So that's what he did, bishop f3. But I don't understand how black doesn't have d4 now. I mean, I realize it's not like ideal. White can and will blockade said pawn, but is this necessarily lost for black? d4. Okay, so the analysis is rook e1. Check this out. Rook e1, bishop d6, rook e4. Oh no. No. Really? That's his only move? Oh my god. But wait. Doesn't he have another move here like rook e8? Yeah, he has rook e8, but then bishop c6. And now rook e6, and then bishop d7, rook e7, and then check this out. Final move is that So it would have been winning a pawn no matter what. It's crazy. It's crazy. He had him in the like laser bishops. He's losing the pawn. So Stein here decides to ditch the central pawn to try to break out with h6. Gh6 check, king takes. Doesn't even take the pawn. He could. Goes here instead. King g7. And just pops back out there with bishop g5. So just wait while I like win your pawn. Looks like black's lost. I was expecting bishop f6. Doesn't really help. So he plays rook d6. And then bishop takes d5. Allowing what? Nothing. There's no counterplay. c6, bishop f3. Important decision. But Larsen was perfectly sure the coming bishop endgame was a win. So you got to be sure. I mean, you could take with the pawn, obviously. Which is probably winning as well. But maybe this is simpler. Bishop takes d5, bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, rook takes d5, pawn takes d5. One pawn up in a bishop endgame isn't always winning. But white has more space. Plus c7 is fixed on the wrong color. Both of these pawns are weak. You know, we could get the king up and around and up and over there, or in there to c6. So take, king f7, king f3, king e8, bishop f4, oops. Luckily he has this. And now this is a win, wow. One less pawn on the board. That's, I mean, I wouldn't be sure. I wouldn't be sure if this is a win or a draw. It looks like it might be a draw. Damn. I don't know. I don't know if this is a win. But he does try. b4, king d7, bishop b6, bishop f6, bishop c5, bishop b3. Where? Bishop b2, sorry. a4. Wrong color, rook pawn. Bishop a4, bishop a3, a5. Bishop b2, king f4, bishop f6, and now the next chapter. Oh my god. King f6, king e4, bishop f6, king e4. White will break with b5. After this, Stein's king and bishop will be busy trying to stop both the a and the d pawn. Dude, the computer thinks it's a win. It looks like it's a win, but it's not clear how we got the win. Where do we reach a winning position here? Is it just horizon effect? So it looks like here, there's like a horizon effect. See, this is where you need 8-piece table base. You need an 8-piece table base. There's no 8-piece table base available. A4. And suddenly the computer realized that black is lost. Despite Uber drivers' contentions. Only now does the engine realize that black is lost. Bishop a3, a5. We said bishop b2, king f4, bishop f6, king e4. Black is lost. Bishop c3, b5. See, there's no table base. A takes b5, only move. a6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holy shit. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's the wrong color rook pawn if your king can't get in the corner. That's the problem with that theory. Uber driver. If the king can't get to A8, then it doesn't matter. Just gives up the bishop with D pawn, yeah. Well, that's easier said than done. Right now, after A6, we're threatening A7, so he has to play king C8. He just gives up the bishop. These are short diagonals. King C8, D6. What is black supposed to play? He's lost, man. He's lost. D6. King B8. King D5. These pawns are sitting there like idiots. They never did anything. King D5, bishop F6. Yeah. King C6. G5 finally, but it's too late. So we get the B pawn. King takes B5. And now white's winning. King takes B5. G4. So what's the winning technique? King C4. King A8. King D3. Oh no. Oh no. Just give up the bishop for the D pawn. Bishop E5, look. Oh no, he can't. Bishop C7. King E4. G3. King F3. Oh no. Oh no. Bishop D8. Oh no, you had to do that? His king. Oh no. Wait a second here. So he plays bishop D8, he just drops the pawn. But anyway, bishop D6 is coming, but no, it seems relevant. Why bishop D8? Doesn't he have another move? King B8. Of course. Oh no, right. Because King B8 is bishop D6. That's the problem. So he's in Zugzwang. In Zugzwang, anyway, like black's best move is technically like G2. And now, we're winning for sure. Oh my god. I wonder at what point he knew he was lost. You figure, oh, I've got a king. I've always got a king move. I've always got unlimited king moves. This is the problem. You figure you've got the G pawn. You can move your king back and forth forever. So your bishop can always sack itself. But now you're in Zugzwang because King B8 loses to bishop D6. That's the freaking point, you know. That's why this is lost. That's so sick, you know. Possible you missed that, like, over the horizon. So the final of the game was King F3. Where are we? Yeah, King F3, bishop D8, King G3, bishop A5. Well, you just sacked the bishop, right? King G4, bishop D8. Notice how Larsen's very careful with his king on light squares. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. But I've seen Michael Adams do that too. Bishop A5. Where? King F5, bishop A5, King E6, bishop C7. Now we steal the diagonal. Bishop C7, King F7, bishop A5, King E8, bishop C7. And now you just sack your bishop for the D pawn. It's easy. Bishop E7. Oh, now you can get the A pawn. Oh no, check. Bishop E7. Bishop A5, because if King A7, bishop D8, followed by bishop B6 check. and d8 queen check. So you actually can't get that. Bishop e7, bishop a5, and now of course bishop d8, and now we get you in the box again. Bishop d8, bishop d2, bishop b6, and now the bishop gets the other side. Easy draw, right? Ta-da! Bishop c5. So he tricked him. He got him round on the other side, and then he cuts him off with bishop e7, and that's it. Pretty nice endgame. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in for our analysis stream. Sorry it wasn't a bigger crowd tonight, but we'll see you all tomorrow for some blitz games in the afternoon around 1 p.m. Thank you, Uber driver Gabble, Troll Mops, and anyone else who's here. We'll be back around 1 p.m. tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in and for your support. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, Uber driver, for Prime sub, and we'll see you guys later. Don't forget